okay, we've got to be on top of it and understand how to talk to those audiences. So for us, it's about understanding what do those conversations look like? What does the jargon look like? What is the nomenclature? Like, right, what's cool and what isn't? Did you know this is super cringe now? I'm so not cool anymore. It's like understanding generationally and iteratively what each generation responds to and how to speak to them via different things like social channels. For example, Gen Alpha, from what I understand, and we're still learning because they're still new in terms of having any buying power, but they are very much on social and starting to influence their parents in terms of what they want to purchase, right?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fully Managed by Penji podcast, the podcast where we discuss marketing and business tips to help assist you on your business journey. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's partnership coordinator, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Laurel Mintz from Elevate My Brand. Thank you so much for coming on with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Of course, thank you. So could you just start by telling us a little bit about your company, kind of like how it started, and what inspired you to kind of get into this kind of work, or if you were all involved in it already, and just a little summary of your journey to here.
Sure. Well, I started out as a corporate M&A attorney, actually. So I thought I was going to be a lawyer and my career path was going to take me that way. Turns out when I got to law school, I absolutely hated it. So I ended up getting an MBA in digital marketing. And I still went down the lawyer path and practiced for a short while and actually still barred in California. But the universe had a different plan for me. My dad got sick. He's healthy now, but I ended up having to step in and take over his interest in a company called Bassett Furniture. So at 26, I was interim CEO of that company. And that's really where I learned that I was an entrepreneur. When he stepped back in, I stepped away and launched Elevate My Brand in 2009. Now it's been 16 years. Ugh, oh my God, every time.
Congratulations.
Lighting, like I always say.
I mean, you look great, and past the 10-year mark is such a accomplishment for any agency. I know that's something that's very difficult, and that's kind of a lot of what people strive for, and you're getting close to the 20-year mark, so that's awesome.
Believe it. Yeah.
Don't think about that. It's not aging you. It's just exciting, and it's a great accomplishment.
People, I'm equally hydrated and pickled, and that's my secret.
That's actually such a great thing. I'm going to be using that. I'm actually going to tell that to my mom. I think she'll really like that. Pickles are great too. Everyone loves a good pickle.
Pickled more like martinis and tequila, but
Yes. That's my favorite shot combo is a pickleback. So those are really great too. So could you kind of tell me what what do you think is the most important part of your marketing process? So since you're a full service marketing agency, there are agencies like yours. What do you think maybe is the most unique part of your process that you think other agencies don't do, or maybe just what you like to do the most?
I think it's the thing that has made us the most successful is the process, right? I think so many firms say that they are full service, but they don't do everything really well. So what we do is we slow down to move faster. So we have a very detailed three-pronged discovery process that we do with all of our clients, whether they're baby startups or some of the biggest global brands in the world that we work with. And that process really allows us to do what we call being center brain. So really inspired by the creative side of the fence, but really driven by the data piece. So we do the squishy, touchy, feely, I thinks, I feels over here, which so many marketers are really good at. But then we back it up with the data side on the other piece so that we can either back up the squishy, touchy, feely stuff or say, that's great that you think and feel X, Y, and Z, but that's not what the data is telling us. So we're going to accelerate.
No, I really understand that. I know that sometimes marketing agencies don't want to maybe upset a client, so they aren't willing to tell them the hard things, that the harsh realities of different things. Is there ever a point where you kind of have to convince a client to feel a certain way about something because they're kind of pushing back on a strategy that you've created or you think might be the best suited for them?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we do that first step. So it's a 30-day process. So frankly, we can decide if we're the right fit for the client or if they're the right fit for us. Again, slowing down to speed up. And a lot of times after that first 30 days, we can tell pretty quickly, like, you know what, this is not going to be a good fit for us long term. And then they can feel the same way too. And it doesn't lock us into that long term contract, or them for that matter. So that's a really important stopping point for us all. But yes, obviously, there's times when we have to convince a client, or we try to convince a client that their thought process and approach is not right. But my husband, who also owns an agency, yes, we have very hot conversations in this house. He always tells me, he's like, you know what? You can tell them once and twice. And if they want you to do something that is not aligned with what you know is right, at the end of the day, they're the client. You can go in that direction, but then they can't hold you accountable if the delivery isn't there, right? Like, you can only push them in one direction and tell them what you think is right so often and so many times. But they can tell you that they want it to be the other way. And he also says, like, he says their fire is not your problem, right? So if, like, they come to you and they're like a new client, they're like, hey, we've got this launch and it has to happen in 4 weeks, but your process takes 8 weeks. Not problem. Pardon. Can I curse? Yes. No problem, right? Like, I find the client, especially because, we're all in service on the marketing side. They come to you and they create so many of their own problems unnecessarily. But as an agency, their problem is not your problem. Your process allows you to kind of demystify and break down their problem into these bite-sized pieces and really to create process and to deliver outcomes. And if they don't see that, then they're not the right fit for you.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think a lot of people are looking to, increase their clientele, so they're willing to kind of sacrifice certain things in order to do that, but sometimes it's just not worth it. Um, Sometimes I'm sure when you start, a lot of people need to take in clients that maybe might be difficult for them to do so, but that's just part of building your clientele. But I think when you get to a certain point, and I think always you should have to have this level of respect for yourself that, if something isn't working, don't force it. But it's good to know when that is.
Yeah, look, we're not perfect either. Like, you have dips in your cash flow, and you have to take on clients sometimes that aren't the perfect client. But even in doing that, if you have the right process in place, you can counterbalance some of those more challenging conversations. And I happen to be, a pretty strong personality. So even some of the harsher and harder clients, like, they can push on me and I will push right back. You have to just do it in a really kind and funny, kind of fun way, right? Like, you can bust balls in a way that's playful and isn't angry or hostile in a way that makes them feel dumb or like they're not making the right decision. And then again, at the end of the day, like, look, if you want blue and I told you that purple is the right way to go and you insist on blue, you can freaking have blue, but I know it's purple. So whatever, have blue. Not my problem.
No, you're definitely right. I think there are people that are not willing to budge, and that's fine. But then I guess you work with another agency that will, fit that for you and maybe have the same opinions as you, even if they might not work.
It always blows my mind. It's like, hired us to be the experts, and then you don't listen to the experts. Like, get out of here. What?
Yeah, it's a little interesting. Some people come to you and maybe say like, "Oh, I'm trying to be relevant for this specific keyword," or something like that. And that might make sense because they know their industry, but then at the same time, like, you can do the research and realize that that isn't maybe what they want to be searched for.
It's about managing client expectations. It's that balance of service and knowledge and expertise, right? Like, you have to play to the client because they are the ones writing the checks at the end of the day, and you are running a service business, but you have to equally balance that with being the expert in your field and having the power in that expertise to stand up and say, like, oh yeah, I get that that's the keyword that you want, but that's not what's going to get you the conversion that you need, right?
Mhm. So what do you do during this 30-day period to figure out if they're a good fit for you or you're a good fit for each other, rather?
I told you that I'd have to kill you. No.
You gotta trust that your service is so good that even if someone tried to copy you, they wouldn't be as good as you because you're unique, and that's important.
That's a trick. It's a three-pronged approach. It starts with what we call a digital mind map. We built this process out on the Miro board platform, which is a fabulous whiteboard platform. If you're not familiar, or anyone listening in is not familiar, it's a fantastic platform we love. The digital mind map is an 1.5-hour session where we get down to really focus in on the client goals. We pull out all the little delicious bits and bytes on what's been working and what hasn't in terms of their existing digital and experiential marketing approach. We give them a little bit of our secret sauce. We talk through their current budgets and allocations. We go through their entire marketing universe. It's a really, really fun, detailed exploration. And we do and build out a punch list of action items. So we like to say, we understand how frustrating it is to pay an agency to get to know you. So as we go through that digital process, mind map process, the punch list of action items are things that the brand can take an action on in real time to move the brand forward as we're getting to know them. So it's
really nice.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing it a long time. So we figured out like what the are on the service side, or on the client side rather, that we sell for. So that's the first step. The second step is a similar process, but more creatively driven, more vision, mission, purpose, voice of brand, targeting. So like, who is your audience, primary, secondary, tertiary, building out funnels, things like that. Do you understand who your audience truly is? Have you thought through building out that hypothesis of who you're targeting so that we can then use that as that hypothesis as we go into that high velocity A/B testing mode. So those are the like squishy, touchy feely pieces. Concurrent to that, we're running that listening software piece to datafy the thought process, right? So we plug into the back end of all of their omni-channel marketing platforms, and then they'll tell us who their top 3 to 5 direct and aspirational competitors are. We run that listening process against them as well. And then we deliver to them this really detailed data-driven report that tells us, here's all of the data. And then we tell them, this is what that means. And here's what the go-forward plan needs to look like accordingly. So we don't do cookie cutter scopes, which again, most agencies do. And only after that 30 days did we then tell them, okay, here's what you actually need based on what we have now seen within your market.
I think it's really nice to hear that you give them information that is still helpful to them, even though you may not work with them after that. Because I think that so many agencies don't want to reveal any secrets until they're positive that they're going to be working with a client. And it's really nice to hear that you're like, you still want to do something for them even if they're not the right fit, because they are paying you to at least find that out. So that's a very nice thing to hear. I don't hear that very often.
Yeah, I like you said, they paid you some money, so they should be getting some sort of deliverable and some sort of positive outcome. I think that's why we've been around as long as we have. Is I don't think that we gatekeep a lot of the stuff that most agencies do, and I think we're really reasonable in how we approach the process and how we built it, and we completely reimagine it all the time. Like we iterate a lot based on feedback and of course what's happening consistently in the market. Like with AI right now, we're like, how do we integrate that? How do we make sure that we're not wasting time and using the technology in a way that's impactful for our clients?
Yeah, one of the reasons why we even do this podcast is because we were noticing that a lot of agencies like ours make kind of knowledge bases, but they put it behind a paywall. And we were like, why would agencies don't talk enough to each other about different things and strategies that they do, because they think it's like this kept secret that they shouldn't share, because then people will copy them or whatever. People copy us all the time. We know.
Like me, let me tell ya.
And that's why, no, but I like that mentality, because you should be confident in your work. And if you're not, then someone probably can recreate it. Like someone, you should be able to be confident in what you're doing, that even if someone tried to copy you, they still can't do the same thing that you can. And I really like agencies that are willing to share things and be more open about stuff, not only with clients, but with other agencies. That's why I really love the idea of this podcast and other podcasts like it, because I think that this world is not very transparent all the time, at least to each other. And I would like that to be different.
I
So,
totally agree. I think that privacy and secrecy is like, I think it's a fallacy. I don't think it really exists. And I agree with you. I think that we need to be more transparent. And the truth is, if someone can replicate what I've done in an hour and a half conversation, then I'm not very good at what I do.
yeah, like, just, okay, I guess take that then. If you could do what I do in that amount of time, then maybe I need to work harder. I don't know. That's what I would think, at least. If someone can recreate the work that I can do, then, maybe I need to be better at my work.
Yeah, be better. That's the takeaway.
Yeah, be better. So how have you been able to grow your agency to the point that it is right now? Because I'm sure a lot of people would love to be able to get to the point that you're in, but also the amount of years that this agency has been going. I think that's incredible. And I think that's kind of what people strive for the most part, when they're creating an agency.
Yeah, I mean, we've grown, we've expanded and contracted. So I think that's a big takeaway, is like, you have to be willing to grow and then shrink and grow and shrink, right? Obviously, we were 20 to 25 people at one point. Now we're down to 8. We're expanding again, so you have to be willing to expand and contract with what's happening in the market. Pandemic obviously was really hard for a lot of agencies, including us. And you have to listen to your team. The pandemic happened. We closed our offices like most agencies did. And we had this 3,000 square foot space that we built from the ground up. It was stunning. And my team was like, we don't want to go back. And I was like, but it's so pretty. And they were like, yeah, thank you. And I was like, but I want to. And they're like, no, we don't want to be physically back in the office again. And I was like, all right, well, I got to listen to my team. And so now we get to hire people all around the country, which is great from a access standpoint and a talent standpoint. And, we've got clients all over the world. So then we have team all over the country, means that they can talk to people in different time zones. It's actually been really great for us from a talent perspective, from an access for our clients. So, I'm the old in the group, but it's just about being flexible and listening to your team and not being precious about anything, and really having as little ego about what you think you want as possible, truly.
Yeah, it's important that your team is happy. I think that a good work environment makes for the best work. I big proprietor for that. I think that. Sorry, what were you saying?
And culture is really important to us. I think a lot of CEOs and executives say that, and then there's zero follow-up, but we really, really take it seriously. I fly the team in one supporter. We do, on our all hands meetings, we do Monday morning woo, where we either do gratitudes or meditation or walking all hands. We do a weekly challenge that rotates through the group. Every person's in charge of challenging the group. At the end of the week, we are accountable for that challenge. We really do genuinely like each other as humans, and we take our culture very, very seriously.
That's really nice. I love to hear that. No, it's so lovely. And it's nice to have a smaller headquarters to be able to foster those kind of relationships too. I think that there's definitely bigger agencies that are able to do something like that, but because their events are so large, it's so difficult to kind of get to know everyone on a personal level. So it's just really nice that you have that the privilege to be able to do that. That's really nice, and the fact that you foster it.
I think you're right. It's the word privilege is really the actual right word. It is such a privilege to have such an intimate and special group. And we recently did an ESOP, which is an employee stock option plan. So anyone who's with us past a certain time period actually becomes an owner of the agency. So it actually really fosters this mentality of the team is the owner, which is really differentiated again from an agency perspective.
Wow, Wow, I really like that concept. I've genuinely never heard of that. I'm sure that it happens, but I don't hear about it. So that's really, really cool.
Well, so I have a second company, which is a venture fund that only invests in diverse-led companies called Fabric. And so when I launched that, I knew that I was going to have to laterally step and spend more time focusing on that. And doing the ESOP was in furtherance of our social and financial equity mission as well. So it really just made sense to do it this way. And again, created that and fostered that energy for the agency side. So it just made a lot of sense.
Oh, that's really nice. I mean, like, there's a lot of ways that you could have done that wouldn't be as beneficial and just genuinely kind and generous to the people that have worked for you, though. So that's it makes sense, but I think a lot of people wouldn't think that way. So that's why it's I don't know, that I think it's really cool.
Thank, thank you for the credit. And also, like, I've been doing this a long time. I've created an amazing life. I don't need more. I want to create more for others in this world. And the team on my agency side that have been with me for that period of time absolutely deserve that same opportunity.
No, that's incredible, and I think that, again, a lot of people don't think that way. As CEOs or founders or leaders of agencies or businesses in general, a lot of people do not think that way. So that's really great, and it's not just it's not just a promotion if someone's worked for a really long time for a company and they get promoted to a certain position. That's really great, but to be able to have a say in how it's ran and it's not just working your way up the ladder in a very traditional, so to speak. It's nice to be able to, change the environment for the better, or like be able to have a say because you've had that experience in the company. And that's really, really lovely.
Well, it's great for me too. I consider them my partners now, which takes some of the pressure off me, frankly, and gives them so much more control over the narrative of where the agency goes, which is great for everybody, truly.
Yeah, and who's the best people to do it than the people that have been there for a long time and understand the ins and outs? Like, it's like you're not hiring some random person that may, be very well versed in your field, but they don't know about the culture of your company, and then things drastically change for the better or for worse. And it does make sense. Yeah, you're saying it makes sense, and it does make sense. I think it's just it's not something that I see really often, so it's a very interesting way of looking at things, which I really love. I think I've complimented this like 4 times. Okay, I'm going to make a segue. It's just very cool. I'll make a little segue this. Okay, so I noticed that you have, I was looking at your blog, and I noticed that there were different elements that are kind of trying to market to the younger generations. And I was wondering, because you specifically talked about Gen Alpha in one of a recent post. And I was wondering, how have you adjusted your marketing strategies to this like new generation? Because I am on the younger side, but I'm Gen Z and not Gen Alpha, and the concept of Gen Alpha is so foreign to me. I think it's so incredible how different generations can be, even though they can be so close in age. And I also was wondering what you think the hardest part of this adjustment has been.
It's great questions. Well, we're really lucky that we have brands that come to us that have to target those audiences. So we don't really have an option. Like, we have to be on top of these trends and on top of what is coming iteratively from a generational perspective, right? So we have 3 brands currently that are targeting those audiences. So we're like, okay, we've got to be on top of it and understand how to talk to those audiences. So for us, it's about understanding, what do those conversations look like? What does the jargon look like? What is the nomenclature like, right? What's cool and what isn't? Like, did you know, like, this is super cringe now, like things like that. Like, shit, I'm so not cool anymore. I'm not that I was ever, I've not been for my training, but Now it's like understanding like generationally and iteratively again, like what each generation responds to and how to speak to them via different things like social channels, etc. So like for example, Gen Alpha, they from what I understand, and we're still learning because they're still new in terms of having any buying power, right? But they are very much on social and starting to influence their parents in terms of what they want to purchase, right? So for example, we have like a couple of plush companies that we work with, and plush is targeting Gen Alpha for sure, right? That's exactly what their audience is. And so talking to them and making sure that you're not like a bot and not like things like not having full sentences and not having perfect spelling, like things that as a CEO, I'm like, everything has to be perfect. And, like they don't give a fuck about that, right? Like,
don't care.
it's just an example, right? But my parents, for example, if you had a misspelling or mispunctuation,
I don't want to work with you. Yeah, I don't want your product. I get it.
right?
It's so
For
interesting.
sure. It's so interesting. That's a perfect example of how the differences between Gen Alpha, millennials, Gen Z even, and the generations, the elder generations like mine respond to marketing.
Yeah, it's a very weird adjustment to have to cater to a wildly different generation. I do get ads that are clearly, I can tell the difference very easily between an ad that is meant for Gen Alpha. It's just so it's like someone like it feels like a child made the ad sometimes, but I'm like, this probably works. And sometimes it even works for me because I look at it and I'm like, this is so bizarre. I have to know what it is. Like I look at the ad and I'm so taken aback by it that I need to know then. And then they get me looking at the product. Maybe I don't buy it, but I do look at it, and that's enough. It's for me to tell my friends about it or tell someone else about it.
Yeah, but there's these whole ad campaigns happening right now where it's like fill in the blanks. So like it gets you to like be encouraged to like feel empowered that you completed the problem, right? Like there's all these like psychological pieces. It's wild. I mean, marketing advertising is a wild industry. It's wild. It's so fun.
It is very psychologically involved. I think a lot of people don't think about that, and they think about it psychologically, but they don't think about it as if it's being psychological. But then they notice like you're taking a part in trends that are convincing someone to do something or buy something or be a part of something, and that is inherently thinking about psychology because you have to think of how their mind works and what catches their eye.
Yeah. I always sit and watch TV with my husband, and like the commercials will come on, and I'm able to like be outside of them because I'm in marketing and advertising. And I'm like, that was a good one. I'm like, I should have been a go out. And he is like, you are so silly. But I really appreciate, because from a psychological perspective, I can understand exactly what they were doing. And a really good piece of content, a really good commercial. I'm like, ooh, they got me. That was a good one. Like he just like,
I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think about that with like a good website because we do website design and a bunch of other different graphic design related things. And I will look at a website now and be like, oh, that was a doozy. Like that wasn't a good one. But then I'll look at another website and be like, wow, I want to look through this. I want to scroll through this website. Like it's interesting to me. It caught my eye. And it's so weird because
I had that this week actually. I'm gonna call them out, and I hope that you can go fix it. The Comedy Store. If you're listening, get your shit together.
I'm gonna be contacting them. Thank you.
Hey guys, went to the store and we were on their ticketing. The ticketing integration is crap. I don't know why, because they've been around forever. Get your shit together, Comedy Store. It was awful. It's question then. You're an LA institution. Why is your ticketing integration so bad?
It's so funny and it's very bizarre. I still think about this ad that I saw on YouTube. This is getting a little off track, but I need to tell someone about it. It was the most dark. I don't know why it haunts me. It genuinely it was I think an advertisement for plushie, like it was plushes, and I was like, one, why am I getting this advertisement? I'm 24. I don't need these. And it wasn't even for a video that made sense for it to be tagged on, but and the advertisement, it didn't tell you what it was advertising. There was no words. It was just a really weird song with no words, just really weird sounds, like almost like Teletubby noises. I can't relate it to anything else. And then just a weird looking stuffed animal fake walking, like animation style, just like on grass, and that was all it was. And I was like, I need to know what this is. And I went on their website, looked at all of their really bizarre plush stuffed animals, and I bought one. And I still think about this. I like in college. I don't need this. This was so many years ago, but I still think about it, and I'm like, they got me. They got me so. I don't know. I was like, what if they become collectibles? They're so bizarre and weird, and I need to know. I need to have one, and I hate it. I don't know. I mean, if you made any weird, bizarre advertisements like this that go on YouTube, then there it is.
Very likely.
It was very, very strange. Okay, I have one more question for you. I know we're a little over time, if that's okay, because I feel like we got off track a little.
Playing game. That's what marketing and advertising is, right?
That's the best part. So, for communicating with customers, I think this is something that is so incredibly important, and I can't stress it enough, and I don't think that a lot of agencies do stress it enough. What is your strategy for communicating effectively with customers to make sure that they are not only happy during the process, but also at the end result, where you're not fixing things at the end because you know that they feel effectively communicated with?
Oh, we have a lot of different touch points. So, throughout the entire relationship, that's really one of the most important keys. So we have bi-monthly ongoing meetings with every single client. We set a we set an agenda prior to those calls that we set ahead of time so they can add anything that they would like to talk about. Then we send a follow-up punch list of action items that's color-coded so that they know exactly what they're working on and exactly what we're working on. In addition to that, we've got a thing we call our task action report, which has everything that we're working on collectively. It's like a Google Doc on crack, we call it. And everything is tabbed out, has all of our metrics. It has the entire marketing calendar, like everything in one place so that they can go and look in one place. It's basically their dashboard, right? Then they've got one-on-one calls with me on a monthly basis so that they can voice any concerns or opinions on anything that might not be going well as well. And then we've also got monthly metrics reporting meetings and then quarterly reporting meetings as well. So we have a ton of different communication and touch points to ensure that at any stage along the path that there is an opportunity for them to voice concerns, for us to show them what's working and what isn't along the way and during our relationship. Communication is everything.
Yes. No, I definitely agree. I love that you said you do color coding. That's important. That is so strangely important to me in anything that I'm creating, and especially if it's vast. I love something that's organized in a way that my little brain loves.
Clients, like, they don't really look at most of this shit, let's be honest. And so, like, you send them a Google Doc or you send them whatever, a spreadsheet of any kind, and they're looking at the metrics reporting, for example, on an ad or on, let's say, like, I don't know, like, whatever, an ad. So, like, something, like, if we're looking at it based on a month over month, we'll do red versus green so they can see this month was red, this month was green, so they can see this was good, this was bad, right? That's really all they're looking for. They want to see did this return better results than the prior example. And that's all they're really looking at.
Yeah, no, it's very important to give them all the information, but they're obviously not looking at all of it. So it's important to organize it in a way that's digestible for them, which I really like. And that's my favorite way of things being organized. I will breeze through anything and I'll miss important information if it's not organized in a way that my brain can take it in a way that's effective.
Exactly. And I'm a high level thinker. Like, I'm not a detailed person when it comes to that. I'm so lucky that I have a team that is. But that's how I consume information, so that's how I want to deliver it, you know?
Yeah, no, that's incredible and a really great way of, I think everyone can digest information that way, even though maybe other people may not prefer it or whatever. Like it's if it's digestible for everyone, I think that's the most important thing because a lot of people think differently. So it's a really lovely way of catering to every type of client. Well, this is unfortunately all the time we have today. I went over because I wanted to ask you that question specifically, but thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This was absolutely lovely, and I love that I got to talk about different weird ads.
Pleasure was all mine, Shannon. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And everyone at home, don't forget to like and subscribe to hear from more professionals like Laurel and listen to these lovely conversations like I get to have every day. Thank you so much for enjoying.